What's up, everybody? True Seeker here. Responding to a Fox News legal expert, Greg Jarrett's claim that the FISA judge should prosecute Comey, Yates, McCabe, Rosenstein, and others, Trump said he wholeheartedly agrees. Trump tweeted out, or told the FBI the fake dossier, wasn't true. It was a lie, and the FBI was determined to use it anyway to damage Trump and to perpetrate a fraud on the court to spy on the Trump campaign. This is a fraud on the court. The Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court is in charge of the FISA court. He should direct the presiding judge, Rosemary Collyer, to hold a hearing, haul all these people from the DOJ and FBI in there, and if she finds there were crimes committed, and there should be a criminal referral by her. The Justice Department official Bruce Orr gave lawmakers a list of half a dozen senior FBI and DOJ officials who knew about his interactions with people tied to the Trump dossier, according to a GOP congressman. Orr spoke with members of the Joint Task Force of the Judiciary and Oversight Committee for several hours in a closed-door session on Tuesday. While he didn't identify the officials Orr named, Representative John Ratcliffe told Fox News' Sean Hannity Tuesday night that he has heard Hannity mention some of them on his program in the past.
Joining us now, more information on Bruce Orr's testimony. He is Texas Congressman John Ratcliffe, and from the Hill, John Solomon. We'll start with you, Congressman. Let us talk about what we learned today. Is it true? Did Bruce Orr ever testify before Robert Mueller? Did that come up today?
It did come up, Sean. I have to be careful. I know your viewers want information, but there's a confidentiality agreement. But you have good sources. I listened to your monologue, and you're on track with respect to.
Well, I heard he never testified to Robert Mueller, and you're smiling, so I'm guessing that's a good guess. Now, John, wouldn't that mean a lot if he didn't testify before Mueller, considering what we have 60 some odd pages of notes, all the meetings, and the fact that he said under testimony today that in fact this Steele dossier could never be used in a court of law, but it was used as the basis for a FISA warrant to get FISA court approval on spying on Americans?
I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
I didn't know which John you were talking to.
I'll ask John Solomon first. John Solomon.
Sorry, sir. Listen, many of the members I talked to said they thought that was one of the most important revelations today, that Bruce Orr said he's never heard, nor has his wife ever heard from Special Counsel Mueller. If Mueller wanted to get to the bottom of this, the questions that Congress has raised that are now in the public, whether the FISA warrant was legitimate and the origins of this investigation were legitimate, you would think at the very least he'd want to talk to Bruce Orr and find out why was he playing the intermediary role. I was told today emphatically Bruce Orr has said he was never interviewed. I think that raises a lot of questions for people in Congress. What is Bob Mueller really up to?
He worked, now we have 63 pages of text, emails, and handwritten notes, Congressman, between Orr and Steele. Steele had already been fired for lying and leaking. He got paid not only by Clinton through Fusion GPS and the DNC through Fusion GPS, but he also was on the record as hating Donald Trump, saying he was desperate that Trump not get elected and passionate about him not being president. Did he comment on any of that today?
He did. I can probably summarize it the best way like this, Sean. When the Department of Justice walks into the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court and says, we want a warrant to spy on an American citizen, and the central piece of our evidence in our case is a dossier, there's an obligation to say, oh, and by the way, the number 4 person in our organization and his wife had major prominent operational roles with respect to how that dossier was put together, how the FBI received it, and by the way, they were paid handsomely by third parties for that. Those are what we call material facts. The material facts that have to be disclosed, and in this case, they weren't.
But he said today, as I understand it, that in fact he told the FBI that his wife had put this together, and they still used him as a back channel. So they never told the FISA court that piece of evidence. They never told the FISA court who paid for the dossier. So the only conclusion is now we know, it's irrefutable at this point, that the FISA court was repeatedly lied to in 4 separate FISA applications. Is that a true statement?
Well, here's what he said, or here's what I can tell you about his testimony today. My real question walking in, Sean, was what did the FBI and the Department of Justice know about Bruce Orr and his wife?
The FBI knew, I'm told.
His testimony today was that He gave us a list of a half a dozen senior FBI and Department of Justice officials that he told of his involvement, his wife's involvement, all of the details of their interactions with Christopher Steele, with Glenn Simpson, with the payment. And these are names, Sean, that would be familiar to you. I've heard you say some of these names on your program before. And I can tell you, as someone that has reviewed the FISA applications, the unredacted versions, I can't talk about what's in there, but I can tell you what's not in there. And what's not in there is any information about Nellie and Bruce Orr.
Orr delivered roughly 8 hours of a closed-door testimony to GOP lawmakers that they claimed conflicted with some of the past statements that they heard from others as they investigated how the government decided to investigate Trump's campaign. Orr also spoke with staff members for Democratic lawmakers. In a tweet on Wednesday, Ratcliffe further explained that the Orr's operational roles and their financial gain from it were known to at least half a dozen senior FBI and DOJ officials prior to their first FISA application, and that these details were never disclosed. Operational roles played by Bruce Orr and Nellie Orr and their financial gain from it were known to at least half a dozen senior FBI and DOJ officials prior to the first FISA application, but were never disclosed. Orr, formerly the Associate Deputy Attorney General, was demoted after it came to light he met with Steele and Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson. He still has a role in the DOJ, working in the Organized Crime Task Force. GOP lawmakers were eager to learn more about the government's reliance on the Trump dossier, which contains a number of salacious claims about the president's ties to Russia. That dossier, which contains several unverified claims about Trump's ties to Russia, was used by the FBI in their FISA warrant application to secure the authority to spy on Page. GOP investigators were interested in reports of Orr feeding the FBI information from Steele, even after he was cut out as a source for providing confidential information to the media, and his connections to Fusion GPS, which retained and paid his wife, Nellie Orr, to investigate Trump. Amazing how it all works, isn't it? I mean, it's literally just a giant cesspool of criminals that have been running the show for so long that there's a lot of work to be done here. There's a lot of investigations, and that's, everybody's so sick of hearing the word investigation. Everybody just wants to see justice now. But the problem with that is that all the investigation was done under people that were corrupted to begin with, and so they're all null and void. Every single investigation they did is null and void. So now we gotta actually have some real heads, some actual real people actually start doing some re-investigations again, which is very sad and time-consuming. And I know Trump already has it rolled up in his sleeves too on this. I mean, they got a lot of sealed indictments that are actually getting ready to be released really soon, but I think he's actually waiting on the midterms to do that part too. Now, whether the left likes it or not, these creeps are all gonna go down. They are all gonna go down. And it will be finally exposed and recorded now for the record how corrupted everything was here. But we're still nowhere near close to it to even be considered that it's cleaned up yet, because there's so many bad apples in this bunch still. And so far the game plan has just been waiting for them to actually sound the alarm, and then that's usually who the next person they go after. But they are 100% panicking, and they are truly showing it on a daily basis how much they're panicking. And in the mainstream, they're starting to run out of excuses for them. They already know how crazy they sound, or at least they should know how crazy they sound on everything, especially when you have people like Don Lemonhead race baiting every 5 minutes. I mean, I'm sure you guys heard that he sounded the alarm that Ron DeSantis has used the phrase, monkey this up.
Well, you know what? That did not take long. I want you, before I get started, I want you to keep benefit of the doubt in mind, and I'll tell you why. Benefit of the doubt, keep that in mind. But this didn't take long. Only a few hours after Ron DeSantis declared victory in Florida's Republican gubernatorial primary, the Trump-endorsed candidate said this to Fox News about the Democratic candidate Andrew Gillum, the mayor of Tallahassee, who happens to be the first African-American nominee for governor of Florida.
The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state.
Does anybody else hear that dog whistle? It's kind of a bullhorn. He actually said, monkey this up. Sadly, it's not even surprising anymore when one of President Trump's supporters says something racially insensitive.
And it's just totally insane that they're actually going to go after a phrase that's been used so many times by people forever, had nothing to do with racism at all. I mean, I don't understand how stupid anybody would have to be to actually even believe this race baiting tactic. The phrase, don't monkey things up, has been around for a very, very long time. In fact, the Democrats always said it.
That the dumping of documents continued after the statement, and what may have been avoided was a further escalation of the interference in the form of trying to monkey around on election day or thereafter.
Say CNBC is no longer available to XYZ, DirecTV, to use an example. That's against the law, and if we wanted to monkey around in some way that they were unhappy about, they can go and complain about it as a dispute resolution mechanism.
All print in the back of the solicitation have the opportunity, have the ability to monkey around with interest rates. So when people thought they were getting 0 interest or 2%, turns out that a few months later, they were paying very, very high interest rates.
A flood insurance bill, it is an insurance bill. And we're not trying to monkey around with the flood insurance program.
November 11th. It was all right to monkey around with Columbus Day, we learned, and even the birthday of the father of our country.
That they would draw the line in Kosovo before he left and told Mr. Milosevic in no uncertain terms, don't monkey around with this one.
They're not going to monkey around with government shutdowns or debt ceilings as a way to try to force their budget priorities.
And our Republican colleagues, even in their tax bill, cause premiums to go up by monkeying around with health care.
All along, the Health and Human Services Department has been monkeying around with the website.
Risk associated with monkeying around with the debt limit.
Nobody here of any party has, until 2011, monkeyed around with that proposition.
In balance. If you do it in constant dollars, so there's no monkeying around with numbers here, in balance.
Instead, they took away things and monkeyed around and tried to bring it down.
This formula, we monkeyed around with this for so long. This formula
never been brought up for a vote. They've been monkeyed with before they've been brought up, but House members have never had the chance to vote.
The objection to the Congress codifying those criteria so that we can avoid any sort of monkey business and slush funds in the future.
This is about monkey business. Monkeying with procedure.
Business they're doing out of there is monkey business. And the monkey business they're doing is to avoid the taxes they legitimately.
And that was just a small compilation that was grouped together by Rich Weinstein on Twitter. But I'm pretty sure you could go back through all the years that there's any recorded speech from any members of Congress or anything. You'll hear the phrase monkey business, monkey around. It's been a normal thing that they've always said. So why all of a sudden now this is racist? Amazing how this all works. We see exactly what CNN and the other mainstreams are trying to do here, and that's just another race bait tactic. And they must really think the world is idiots to actually sit here and believe it. But this is literally the left's desperate attempts trying to do whatever they can to revive any single bit of power that they might have left. And it's not much, folks. They barely have anything to hold on to anymore. And they're going to keep sticking to tactics like this race baiting method to try to do whatever they can to sway people's beliefs and opinions on who they're going to vote for this coming up elections. And frankly, none of this is going to work. And all it's doing is just making them look worse every single day. I mean, their ratings are so low, it's not even funny. There's just way too much monkey business going on there. What do you guys think about all this? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you would like to be able to support this demonetized channel, you can send $1 or $2 to my tip jar. The link's in the description below. And thank you to everybody that's already supporting. Your support is what's keeping this channel alive and what's also keeping Buddy List paid for. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!
Please subscribe to our channel, like our video.